On. All right, we're on. What's going on, Maria?
How are you?
Good, good.
Oh man, what a week. So I don't even know where to start. I mean, we talked what last? I think we talked last Saturday, right? And then
Yes.
so I had a game last Saturday. We won that game, and then coming into this week, I think I had talked to you a little bit about we were all going up for Gino's record-breaking game. They beat North Carolina, so that tied it. And then going into the Fairleigh Dickinson game Wednesday night was the game where they were celebrating the 40th anniversary of him coaching there that day. And I don't know if like people orchestrated it to be the same game that he could potentially break it or not. I don't know if that was just coincidence, but because they beat North Carolina, it was also the record breaking game. And man, I got to tell you, it was there were about 75 of us in attendance that were alumni. Um, and this, I gotta tell you this stat because this kind of blew my mind. So CD and Coach went back and basically like counted all the kids that have come through the program that have played for them. And like when you think 40 years, you think that number's got to be like a couple of hundred kids, right? Like, because you feel like that's such a long time. But the number was 160. So I started like thinking about that, and I was texting with Morgan the day after, and I was like, man, I'm kind of blown away that I'm one of 160 people that has been privileged and good enough to go play for these two coaches. It's kind of wild, and I say that because you get so many kids that play basketball when they're young and like strive to be the best and to go play at UConn, and to think that over 40 years only 160 kids were able to do it is like really remarkable. Um, that really blew me away. We had it at Gamble. It was just so electric, man. I mean, they have the new screen up there. The warm ups are really cool. They bring out like these huge letters that spell out UConn, and the lights go off. Um, obviously Fairleigh Dickinson's not great. I thought they played all right in the first half, and then obviously we took over and won. And then the hilarious part is after the game, they brought a real live goat out to walk the red carpet to meet Gino and CD, because obviously, now they're the goats of women's, really of all college basketball, because they're the winningest
Yes.
coach of college basketball, not just women. Um, but it was kind of hilarious, and like this woman, like I'm assuming it's the goat's handler, like walks the goat down the red carpet, and it was like, all right, you can't get like too close to the goat. We got like 90 seconds with the goat out here before the goat freaks out. I mean, I don't know what the heck the goat was gonna do, like take off, but really, really cool experience to be there. A couple of my classmates spoke after the game, which was really cool. And to just be a part of it and know that you're one of 160 was just, it was surreal. Like I never thought about it that way, because you do like, and you think about football, you guys have what, like 60, 70 kids on a roster sometimes.
130.
130. So you multiply that by 40 years and you get like thousands of kids, right?
Right.
To think like you've impacted 160 lives. I mean, probably impacted way more than that, really. But because
Right.
you're impacting families and generations and all this other stuff. But like 160 kids. That's it. That's it. It's crazy. Um, but so happy for them. We got to spend some time afterwards and beforehand and all that. And I got to kick it with, all five of my classmates were there, which was
Oh
really
wow.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we grabbed some lunch before, and then we head over to the game, and it was it was just an awesome atmosphere to be a part of. So that was my Wednesday. Did you get a chance to watch the game?
I watched parts of the game, but I watched the after with
Yeah.
the whole segment after when they brought the goat out and all that stuff. I saw all of that. I saw they obviously they panned over all of the ladies that were there at the game. It was very, very cool. It was, I mean, it was almost like Gino was like a little overwhelmed because I always find it interesting when the person who's the leader and celebrates all the people that he coaches and stuff like that all the time. He's so used to that, and all of a sudden now he's being celebrated, and they don't really know how exactly to handle that. But they're
Yep.
very comfortable. Like if he was talking about you, he'd be very comfortable having a conversation about what makes you great, what makes you a fantastic player, person, all of those things. Just like I watched the whole thing where he talked about Paige Beckers, and I think he talked about somebody else too. But he talked about Paige Beckers. He's so comfortable doing that. But when you're celebrating him, you notice that like he's almost
Yeah.
not comfortable in that realm of it. It's not something that he's used
Yeah.
to.
Well, I think that's like human nature, right? Like
Right.
I could sit and talk about how great my teammates are, how great he is all day. If you start asking me questions about myself, I'm like, I don't know. I don't think I'm that great. You know what I mean? Like, I'm
Right.
just doing when you're in it and you're doing your thing. And I think too, and I've always said this about the championships, right? Because people always ask me, like, what was your favorite one or what was your favorite moment? And my answer now is so different than it was then. I think when you're still in it, you can't really 100% appreciate it. And not that he doesn't appreciate it. My point being is like maybe 10 years from now when he's, retired and sipping a Mai Tai on a beach somewhere and he starts to think about like everything that he did and all the lives that he touched, I bet he'll be able to put it into perspective a little bit more. But I always think it's really hard when you're still in it and you're still focusing on winning and winning a national championship to like really put into words what it all has meant to you. I'd be interested like 5, 10 years from now to have him answer those same questions. I think they'll be a little easier at that point, but I think in the moment it is. It's overwhelming and it's hard to put in words because you're still in it every day. It's like you're still doing it, you're still grinding. And he'll have many more victories, I think, before he retires. So, yeah, it's just wild. I mean, to think, you think about, and you've talked about stories about campus and what it was like when they first started there to see, like, I even just am blown away. Like, when we played, we sold out every game, but we didn't have like a strong student section yet. That wasn't a thing. They still let like anybody buy season tickets. So, we had like an older demographic and people would come with their kids, but like only certain games would we get a big student section. I mean, the student section was wild, wild now. And he really changed that. It was probably like 8, 10 years ago where he started like raffling off stuff after the games and doing stuff for the students to get more of a younger demographic there. Because I do think it's important, right, to generationally pass on the legacy of following a program. And I don't think schools do a good enough job at that. I don't think UConn did that early on. They're doing a better job now. But you got to get like this generation engaged, and he's done such a phenomenal job with that. So, I mean, the whole thing was well done. I got to chat with, I actually sat right behind um, one of the assistant coaches for the men's team for the whole game. So I was like, I had my coaching hat on and I'm peppering him on a million questions about Hurley or whatever. And then, I got to chat with Hurley and Luke um, after the ceremony. And I was like, listen, I would love to come up and watch a practice. He's like, are you kidding? He's like, you're alum. Come up to whatever practices you want. Just shoot me a message. Like, they both were so gracious and humble. It was really cool. Luke is such a cool guy. Such a cool guy. And he's another one where I'm like, I mean, listen, I'm a huge Bill Murray fan. I always have been. And like, Bill Murray's your dad, and it's like he's so humble, he's so chill. They were all just great, and there was a lot of the men's players there, so it was good to see that too. Because when I was there was always kind of that like competition between Calhoun and Gino, and you can tell like with these guys, like they love it, like they're embracing like let's grow this to the best thing ever together. Um, which I just think is really cool to see. So I love that. He stayed, Hurley, Luke, the whole coaching staff, they stayed for the whole game. They stayed for the whole after thing. They waited until coach was done, like taking pictures with his family and the players, and then congratulated him. It was just really, really classy. I was just really impressed with that whole piece of it too. Um, I mean, what a great get that was for the university, and it just shows, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. That's there's no doubt. I think Gino's approach to the game, and maybe because from coaching women all these years, and being able to kind of develop it from the ground up, versus like Calhoun's approach to the game, where I always thought that Calhoun, what made him great was he had a monumental chip on his shoulder, and he had that monumental chip on his shoulder, which is what made him a great coach. But probably also made it harder for him to probably let in others at the same time. So,
Yeah,
but and sometimes that's how every coach that's like even great coaches, they're all different, right? In how they kind of approach things. But I always thought like that there was very little room for two kings in probably in his mind because of just kind of how he came up and how he fought to get to where he was. But I think Gino is very, very different, right? He built the ground from the ground up. He's seen the complete evolution of his own program and the university. So that's it's actually two things. Like it literally, when I got there, it was definitely starting to change. But like the guys who were like seniors when I was a freshman, they used to talk about it being like a cow town, and I was like, wow, like a cow town. Like he's like, yeah, it was just basically cows out here when we first got here. So I think Gino seeing that all is really a unique thing and what makes it so cool. And now he's able to really kind of share that with Hurley.
yeah, no, it's amazing. I mean, and I always liked Calhoun when I was there. He was always friendly with me. We used to laugh because he would only talk to like two or three of the women's players. He would kind of pick who his favorites were, and I think he liked me because I was always like an underdog, and like I would joke around with him when I was in the training room and stuff, and so I always built a great relationship with him. And I used to go to his stuff even after I graduated. He would invite me to his alumni events and everything. So, I always saw a different side of him that maybe some people didn't, but they're definitely, I mean, listen, I remember back in the day, like, we used to all have to practice in Gamble. Now they have their own facilities, so you can go whatever time you want. So, like, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we were the later slot, they were the earlier slot. Tuesday, Thursday, we were early. And if Calhoun went over by 10 minutes, the day before, like, like Gino would find a way to go over 10 minutes when we were like, it was just like stuff like that. It was like fun, like petty but funny. Like,
That is
I mean,
funny.
it was just like a tit for tat a little bit. But I love what these guys have now, and I think too, it's like, when Gino started, he got his first championship before Calhoun did, and
Yep.
Calhoun had already been there and whatever. So I'm sure that created a little bit of animosity. And then, my senior year was the first time that the men and women won in the same year, which was just like crazy. And obviously we've done it twice now, and the only program in history too. But it's just, you know, me as an alumni going back as part of the program, it's like what was also cool was that there were players there from his very first team all the way to obviously his current team.
Oh wow.
And yeah, like, and we all are like, it's family. Like, each other. Like, hey, how are the kids? Like, it's just so cool to be part of something like that, because I still, like, I have friends that have played for a bunch of different programs. It's just simply not like that anywhere else. Um, so it was just a really, really, really special night. So yeah, so that was my Wednesday into Thursday, and then Thursday I had a game versus Nichols College, and going into the game, it was funny. I was talking to my teammates about it. They're averaging 98 points a game, and they're forcing on average 66 turnovers a game. They run this like crazy offense and this ridiculous press where they just run three people at the ball everywhere. Like, it really, really hard to stop. And I think I've mentioned we're down a couple of players to injury, so we're playing a lot of freshmen right now. And I'm like, all right, let's try to keep the turnovers under 30. Let's try to hold them to 70. We had 24 turnovers at halftime. Now we were still in the game. We were only down 6. We played till the end. We ended up losing by 10, but we had 45 turnovers. I literally, there were a couple of times where I was like, I'm gonna end this game bald because I'm just gonna rip my hair out. So I went and I looked up my stats from college. I had in college, I think I had 40 turnovers over 10 years or over 4 years. We had 45 in one game. It was just it was insane. I was ready. I was ready to I don't even know. I was like, I don't know whether to just drive off a cliff or what to do. I've never seen anything like it. I wish we could see them again with a full squad, but we played hard. And then Saturday we went down to John Jay College and played there. And they're a traditionally really good program. They play hard, and we get there right. So I got pulled over in the morning, trying to get there. We were running a little late. I get a warning, right? So this was my day Saturday, which is why I had no voice yesterday. So I get pulled over on the way there at 8 o'clock in the morning. I went through a yellow. Listen, it was yellowish pink to me. I didn't think it was fully red, but whatever. So I get pulled over. I get a warning. I get there. The bus is an hour late. Finally get on the bus. We get down to Manhattan at 11:30. And so this team scheduled their alumni game versus us because they've always blown us out, and they're thinking oh, this is a cupcake match, whatever. Let's schedule the alumni game right before WestCon. So we get there and they won't let us on the court until 50 minutes before the game, which typically you get an hour and a half. So I'm already fired up. So we're sitting up in the stands, and you'll love this. We're sitting there, and the staff and the people who are running the facility are over right down below us taking bets on how much John Jay is going to beat us by. So I'm sitting there and I'm just stewing at this point, totally stewing. My senior starting point guard is out for the game. She tweaked her knee on Thursday, and we're resting her. So I'm all right, I'm literally starting 3 freshmen today, but whatever. So we came out, we played hard in the first half. We came out in the third, and shit hit the fan. All of a sudden we're dribbling the ball off of our feet. I literally turned to my assistant coach and I'm if we end up getting blown out this game, I'm just gonna walk straight into the Hudson. I'm just gonna walk right into it, and you guys could pick me up on the way home. That's it. I've had it. What do we get ourselves into? That's literally what I was thinking halfway through the third. I call a timeout. We make an adjustment. We're I said, I don't think these guards can handle pressure. Let's just start pressing the crap out of them. So we did. We were down 18 in third. We come back. Freshman hit the 3 with 2:20 left to put us up 2. We end up winning the game by 10. It was just unbelievable. These kids are young, but they fight. I love it. So then we're driving home. We get back to campus. I pull down the road from campus, and a guy comes and sideswipes me. So I get
Oh
no
my
car
God.
accident on my way home. Yeah, it was just it was a nutty day. And my first thing, my assistant coach was with me, and I said, thank God we won today. I don't even know what I would have done. I probably would have killed this guy. So everything's for a reason. But we got the W. So overall, it was a good week. We got one more game tomorrow at St. Joe's before Thanksgiving break. So
That's good news, first of all. So
yep.
how excited did you get when you won?
Oh, I was going nuts. I walked into the locker room afterwards because we've been in every game so far,
Right.
every game, but we're so young. So, there's a great part to that because I think 2 years from now we're going to be really, really good, but we do some freshman stuff,
Right.
and we've been on the short side of these battles for the last couple of games, and we finally got one. So I walked into the locker room afterwards and was let's freaking go, and everybody's going crazy. It felt really good. Some kids that normally probably wouldn't have played as much did and played great. I had 3 freshmen in double figures. It was we needed that one. We needed that one to go our way. Very easily could have lost by 30. But we just showed grit. We're just really gritty, and I love it.
Yeah, I think that's the important thing. I mean, they're going to learn that. They're going to take your personality. They're going to run with that, and over time, they're going to really start to evolve. And as they get better, skill wise, the personality that you're injecting and the way that you coach, will start to translate to them. Once the skill starts to get where you want it to be, I think the rest of it'll take over because your leadership and your enthusiasm and your personality, that the kid they'll adopt that. um and But obviously the skill has to get there first, right? Before that becomes a reality.
Yeah,
But they're getting there. It sounds like they're getting there.
yeah. I mean, listen, we got some really skilled kids. I think a lot of what I'm seeing right now is like, they're D3 kids probably because they haven't really been coached yet. So I'm dealing with a little bit of that. I'm dealing with low confidence stuff, and I'm like, we got nothing to lose. Let's just go out there and grind it out every day.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. I think that's an important thing. I find it funny because I'm curious your thoughts. Like when you're sitting there waiting for a bus, having played at UConn, where I am certain that was never a thing. Like everything showed up pretty much on time, or if an incident happened, and it was probably rare, right? Whereas at D3, like I'm sure every time out, every time you're going to play somebody, you're like, okay, hopefully the bus is here, and hopefully I'm
Yeah,
sure that must go through your head.
it's like it's become like what shenanigans are going to happen today. Because it's our third road game, and we're 1 for 3 on like everything going smoothly. So it's definitely different in college. Yeah, the bus is waiting. It's heated up. There's food there. You're getting there way before. You have time to chill. It's just a different world, but it's
Yeah,
all good.
no doubt about it. Your assistants, are they all people that you brought in, or there are people that were there already, or
Yeah, there were 2 assistants that I had with me.
okay,
Yeah, and I did that intentionally. Like it was so close to the start of the season. Like I wanted people that I trust that
right?
know our stuff, and the 3 of us have a great dynamic. We're all very different, which is what you need. So
That's good. That's an important part of it all. Um, what is so going back to the Geno thing, which I thought was really interesting. We talked about how he got the fans, the younger players, younger college students to be a big part of it. Because I do remember not just the women though, but men too used to really be like a wine and tea crowd at the games. You know what I mean? That like
yep,
the early '90s, probably almost up to about when you were playing. It was very much like that, even when they were great. You know what I'm saying? Like it was still that was still like you could look in the if they panned the crowd for a very long time, even when they were great in those '90s years, you pan the crowd, you'd be like, "What is everybody's grandpa at the game?" You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
um, you know,
100%.
it's so cool that they changed it, and that was the totally different dynamic where you see the crowd that stayed around after for Gino's thing. It was all the students and those 3 guys that had their bodies painted. And he let
Yeah,
them run across. Like that part is a total change of how Connecticut basketball was to how it is now.
yeah, and I think like what's important about that people just don't realize is that at the end of the day, the student athletes that are playing, they're your classmates, right? Like they're going to school with you, and there's a different connection when you get to go and root on your classmates. Like when I was there, if you had to like there was like a lottery you could enter to get one of the 200 student section seats. And now they really opened it up and they try to get that younger demographic. And now it's like, all right, like your friends are there. You see these people in the caf or you see them in class, and it's a different connection. And I do think it's really important. to get that younger crowd. So I'm so happy that, when I go back now to games, they have that. And it's funny, the guys that had their stomachs painted, so they ran out, and then they turn around and their whole back is empty. Like they didn't paint their back, so it just looks like like these guys that are half naked running off. We were like, oh, they forgot about the back, so we were kind of like joshing with them a little bit. But yeah, it's just really cool. It's so cool to see the shift in everything up there. And I mean, like I said, I mean, it was just so electric. And you're spot on. It's like back in the day, we're serving tea and crumpets before the game. Now people are drinking beers and having pretzels, and it's just different. It's a little rowdier, it's a little louder, but all in a good way.
No, no, there's no doubt about it. Even schools like Duke had to, that's why you have the Cameron Crazies. Like they realized during the Coach K era, like they had to kind of, yes, you're gonna have the wine and tea, tea crowd there, but you want on camera a lot of students on that when the camera pans, you want the pan to those students. That's who you want them to pan to because and see that there's a lot of them there because that draws more people to your university, obviously, more people that want to come there, more better applicants to your university. It sounds crazy, but it's true. Better
Oh
applicants
yeah.
come because they see a great student section, and so that builds your university. I really, and Gino really, really has a large responsibility in helping the university become what it is today. And people, who are true academics, like the professor crowd, quote unquote, I don't think they'll ever really understand it, but that impact was huge that on the overall desire people that come to university, obviously the men as well, but like that being a big part of it. And that's obviously why they're trying to get football to the next level, right? Because they now see that like these things get you better students. Like your everyday student is going to have a higher score. He's going to be a better quality student, and it just makes the university better.
Yeah, it's funny. I went our home game the other night, and like our campus is a little tough at WestCon because we have two campuses. We have the Midtown campus, and then we have the West Side campus. And a lot of the freshmen live on the Midtown campus, and we also have a lot of commuters. So we have a lot of kids that don't live on campus at all. And so one of our freshmen that's hurt, I turned to her the other day and I said, "Do you guys have friends on campus? Like, do you guys make friends?" And she was kind of like, "Yeah, sort of. Like, we hang out with each other." I'm like, "You guys need to make friends." And she was like, "What do you mean?" And I said, "We need more people at the games, man. Like, we need more students there." So that's like a big goal of mine this year is, and we've had bigger crowds than they've ever really had before so far, but the engagement of the students, the engagement of local high schools and the youth is going to be a big focus of mine because it's a great recruiting tool. When you have a recruit come to the game and there's 50 people in the stands and it's all parents, it's kind of like, all right, well, this is no different than my high school games versus, you have a couple hundred students getting rowdy and whatever. Like, what else are you going to do in college? Like, you guys really have other stuff going on that you have to,
Right? They
there's
don't.
class and stuff like that. But, that's a big focus of mine this year is to try to engage with the students on campus, the other athletes for other sports. Like, I encourage my girls to go to other games because, the more you do that, they're more inclined to come support you. And, I think stuff like that is really big to create a frenzy around, the sports atmosphere is to your point, it makes people want to go there. It's like, oh, I got something to cheer for when I go there.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, and especially schools that are like West Connecticut, which is traditionally a level of a commuter school. It's important to build that because ultimately, even if a school is quote unquote a commuter school, they really want more people on campus. Like the university wants more people on campus. They want more people to be there long term. Obviously, there's more funds that come into the university when that happens. You get better students that apply to your campus and those things kind of continue to evolve because Western Con's been around a long time, a long time, but you see that like for the survival going forward of universities in general, like you have to build more and more of a community atmosphere even in the schools that are, like what you would say, like are the satellite schools of the state university system. Those are it's really important. I know like Eastern Con has tried to do that, over the years, right? And leverage like UConn being near them,
Yep.
in order to get more people to. WesternCon's doing the same. I mean, hiring you is obviously a big part of that, right? Like that's I mean, that's as good as you can get for a Division III school. So, you know,
Yeah.
um, because you
Well,
don't you don't know.
part of it too is like you got to win, right? Like,
Yep.
so I'm very aware of that. Like, people don't want to come and watch a losing team or watch us get blown out, and that's why it's important that I'm trying to instill like we got to fight like every game, because when you're fighting, things go your way.
Yep.
When you stop fighting in a game, it's like things can go south really quickly. But at the end of the day, like people always say, like when I was in high school, my freshman year we had good crowds, um, and we won. My sophomore through my senior year, we would sell out almost every home game, and part of it was that people wanted to watch me, but a big part of it was that we were winning. And so then when I went and took the job at Notre Dame, I had people say like, well, how are you going to get people in the seats? How are you going to get people to want to come here? And I said, well, listen, the first thing you got to do is win, because when you start winning, you create a different buzz, and people want to come check it out. Like, hey, what's happening here? What are they doing different? So, part of that here is creating an exciting environment where we're in it every game, we're fighting. Not that we're gonna, obviously go undefeated every year. When you create culture, people want to be part of it, and the games. But when they winning, is when you really saw that change.
Yeah. Well, I think
So
that's 100% it. And I think what's really, the evolution of a program and a team is like what you're talking about. The first step is getting the team to be competitive every single game. And now when you're in the hunt every single game, all of a sudden, you're right. You start to win a few games that maybe you shouldn't have won before. You might lose a couple close ones because of it. That's part of it. But now you once the I want to say kids, but the young adults see that they could be competitive every single time out. Now you win a few that you shouldn't have, and next thing you know, you're winning more than your share, and then it just becomes an expectation.
yeah, well, exactly. It's at least if you can make the games exciting, it's because people they want to watch an exciting game. Like I always say this, like it's twofold. If you're really really good and you're steamrolling everybody, that's not exciting either, right? Because then people take a look at the schedule and they go, we're not going to go to this one, we're not going to go to that one. They cherry pick it. Um, and I think people at UConn do that too, right? Like everybody's like, oh, I'm going to go to the USC game, I'm going to go to the USC game, and I'm like, all right, what about all the other games? Like, you're still watching something really special, but when games are good, like I'd rather watch a game that's like a nail. I honestly would rather coach in a game that's a nail biter. My dad came down to the game on Saturday. My whole family came down, but my dad works. He's a security guard at Yale, so he has weird hours. But he was able to come down on Saturday, and he said to me after the game, he was just like, "Man, I don't know how you coach and like when you're down or when it's close." He goes, "It's so nerve wracking," and I was like, "I'd rather coach a game that's close. Like I feel strong enough about our coaching staff and being able to make adjustments and at least being able to make the right calls down the stretch to give us the chance to win. Like that's what I love about it. And what I hate about it is that you're still at the mercy of the kids executing and making shots and doing all that other stuff,
Right,
right?
right.
But as long as you're making the right calls and the right adjustments and putting them in a position to win, like that's what it's all about. So for me, those are the really exciting moments. Like I always laugh. Some people will say to me, "Oh, well, Gino doesn't know how to coach in a tight game because he's not in enough of them." And I don't think
Did we lose Maria? I think we may have lost Maria. Hopefully, we get her back. I think we did lose her here. Well, we should have Maria back shortly. But I think what she was talking about, which is a great point, and when she gets back on, we'll let her continue to evolve that, is that she was talking about how Gene Ariema, some people will say that he is not a coach in tight game because he hasn't been in that many tight games. And I think that's pretty crazy because obviously he's been in a lot of tight games. It's just that his team has been so successful. And as coaches, they prepare for those situations, but execution of that as a player can be hard if you haven't been in it. But as a coach, usually you are prepared for that part, especially coaches that are the elite coaches from that aspect. Um, and I think that's an important part of being able to evolve your team. I think Maria makes some good points on that. And I think it's really interesting to see how her team continues to evolve at Western Connecticut as she continues to evolve the program. But the mindset of it, of building a program and the program taking on your personality and what you could do as a coach and what you kind of enthusiasm you inject into it is a critical thing is so important and is what makes it really exciting as well. So hopefully we'll get her back, and if we don't, we will wrap it up. But we may have lost her here. But yeah. So anyway, I think that was a really great Collins Corner. We talked about a lot of great things. I think was really cool is seeing Gino get to the point where he has all those 160 great players. It's amazing how few players there really are that play in college. In 40 years, they have 160 players that have been a part of the program, and that's incredible and exciting and unique in that aspect. But until next time, we'll get you on for Collins Corner. This is Coach Schuman, and we'll see you soon.